Hey guys, it's John back with another video live once again from the beach hut. And if you're loving these videos, please hit the like button, smash subscribe, let me know that you're enjoying what we're doing, and moreover, absolutely give me a comment, because in all honesty, I do what you guys want us to do. I do these videos so that you can get the best out of them. And if you want me to talk on another subject, if you want me to go full anti-guru on someone, then absolutely do. Now, I was watching the YouTube over the weekend, as I do, and one of the things that came very apparent from my reading of sort of your reaction to the channel is what you guys love is how-to videos. What you guys love is, how do I do this, or how do I do this, or how do I do this? And so one of the requests, as it were, given to me by a member of our property expert community on Facebook on the interweb was, and I quote, it was from Gary Lana, and Gary said, would you mind doing video on the top 5 rejections that you're never ever going to overcome? Okay, so happy to do that, and I'll do it from effectively top of my head, because I've pretty much written most of them when I was a planning officer, but here we go. So number 1 in my top 5, number 1, stuff falling off the table, in my top 5 is unacceptable in principle. So unacceptable in principle is really, really obvious. You're contrary to national policy. If we go back to both our victory model and our land model, being unacceptable in principle, contrary to a policy in the local plan, contrary to a policy nationally, is something you're going to really, really struggle to overcome. It's something you're going to really, really struggle to deal with. So those kind of rejections, as it were, are there to really stop inappropriate development in inappropriate locations. The very, very fundamental problem is that the whole ethos behind the application, the whole idea behind the application, was flawed from the outset. So whenever you see unacceptable in principle, contrary to policy, unacceptable in principle, development in the countryside, unacceptable in principle, anything that uses the words unacceptable in principle, then you are on to a loser pretty much straight away. No real point in taking that to appeal either, because it requires a change either nationally or locally to make it work. Unacceptable in principle, that's number 1. Number 2 on our list is it goes with prior approval applications. The use was not correct on the appointed day. So that type of prior approval refusal basically says that you were in the wrong use on the wrong day, and because you were in the wrong use on the wrong day, then you're going to be facing an argument where the council is just going to be saying no. There's no point in making any form of counter argument, because the council has the evidence, and in reality that's just a straight no. Again, the whole application is based on the wrong presumption. In this case, we can demonstrate the use was correct. No, you can't demonstrate the use was correct. Something is wrong. You're going to have to go about it a very, very different way. Those type of reasons for refusal you can't overcome, because the council has the evidence to basically back itself up. Number 3 on our list goes with certificates of lawful development, and that very much focuses on the argument that the proposed certificate is based on the wrong legal footing. Now, I've seen this a variety of different times. I've seen this where a planning consultant attempted to argue that going from 2 C4 HMOs to 1 sui generis HMO did not result in a material change of use. It does. You can never go to a sui generis HMO without planning permission, and you certainly can't amalgamate to otherwise create the argument. So that is flawed. So the whole principle of a certificate is to prove that you can do it legally. And where you're making illegal or unlawful arguments, those tend to lead down the line of refusals, which can never be overcome because the argument is flawed from the outset. I hope that makes sense. Number 4 in our list is very specific to certain areas. And this is specific to where you have a special protection area, an SPA. Now, in some circumstances, those SPA areas require you to go down pre-application. So they require you to go and get an allocation of what's called SANG or SAM, strategic allocation of appropriate alternative green space, or SAM, that's a strategic monitoring package. Okay. The whole point of that pre-app process is to get that allocation for you, is to go and get that fundamental bit of paper that says, yes, there is land waiting for you. In some areas, that land is incredibly rare, right? It's running out. And so you need to go and get your allocation. The fundamental is that if you don't go and get that allocation, you will get refused, and that refusal cannot be overcome because you haven't got your allocation, i.e. you haven't got your starting position right. Your whole starting ethos of, I can just do it during the application is flawed, because that's not how that council deals with it. Rushmore in particular is a classic example of this, where they have so little land available to allocate, then you must go and get that allocation. The 5th type of reason for refusal, number 5, relates to planning absolutes. So I'll give you an example. Triple SIs normally have a 400 meter cordon around them, 400 meter bandwidth. Now, in the Triple SI regulations, it says very clearly you cannot build new housing in that 400 meter bandwidth, period. You can't increase the size of housing, you can't increase the density of housing, you can't chop houses into flats, nothing, nada. You can't even go from a small HMO to a big HMO. Trust me, I've tried. The whole point behind that is further human growth and intervention would be harmful to the special scientific interest of that area. Right? That 400 meter cordon is vital. Now, we use things like Nimbus, tools like Nimbus, to measure the 400 meter cordon. And that is important for us because if we're proposing a development in the 400 meter cordon, we know we're on a hiding to nothing. We know we're going to get a refusal because you cannot add a new dwelling within the 400 meter cordon. It's a planning absolute, and the cordon is there for good reason. So a reason for refusal that says you're developing within 400 meters of a triple SI will be an automatic no, an automatic planning absolute no, and then you'll be into basically trying to find a new use for that land, or a different use for that land that isn't a dwelling. You will never get over that reason for refusal. For as long as the triple SI exists, you'll never go over. Now, there are other areas like that. For example, nuclear reactors. Heathrow Airport has a 500 meter noise abatement cordon. Barrow-in-Furness, for example, is a nuclear port, so you cannot build housing within a certain distance of the nuclear port. Things like that. Planning absolute. No, never, not in a million years. A greenbelt can be taken as a planning absolute, but there are ways out of it. So it's not as absolute as a cordon. And where you've got those cordons, if you try, you'll fail, and it'll be a reason for refusal you can never overcome. Okay, so those are the 5 key reasons for refusal I see on a day in, day out basis. You will never be able to get over. It's a case of no, move on, next step. I hope that's been helpful. If you've liked this video, smash the like button. This one was given to you by Gary Lana. Well, a few of his questions go through. So we're going to keep whacking through videos until the COVID-19 crisis ends. And I will catch you on the next one. Hit subscribe to be updated for the next one. Have a great day, everyone. This has been Anti-Guru. See you soon.